Hello, hello. It's good to see you all. There is lots to talk about today. A major announcement by the FDA Advisory Panel. As we have all seen, we are talking today about COVID boosters and what the decisions were made, what was set in motion, and what this means for you. Guys, it's so great to see you. I'm Dr. Jen Caudle. As you all know, I'm a practicing family physician. I'm an on-air health expert, and I'm also a video creator. So let's jump right in. We're going to talk, we're talking shop today. We're just going to jump right into the topic at hand. Guys, this is really, really important. A couple things that you should know. That it was an FDA advisory committee that met today to discuss the data, to discuss what evidence we have, what studies, what data, what information we have. People in this meeting were scientists, they were Pfizer people, they were CDC folks, Israeli government folks, independent experts, you name it. And they were looking at the different data that we have to see what makes sense according to the science and what does not. This is information that we have all been waiting for. We have been talking about the possibility of COVID boosters literally for months, if not maybe even close to a year, the possibility of boosters. So one thing we have known, let's just recap what we know already, right? We know that COVID boosters are right now already available to those with weakened immune systems who meet certain criteria, right? Those who have had Moderna or Pfizer at this point to get an additional third dose. We know that. But the question was, what was going to happen for the rest of us? And remember, the Biden administration came out not long ago. I did a video about this saying, September 20th is the day. Something like every American is going to be available for a booster 8 months after their course of their COVID vaccine, their cycle had ended. And September 20th for all Americans, at least that's what I recall. And thus, we've been sort of waiting with bated breath to see what actually is going to happen and what's going to happen on September 20th or before. So let's get to what actually happened today. An FDA advisory committee met to advise the FDA and what it thinks should actually happen. And what they decided was the first decision that they made, which was one that a lot of you sent me messages and DMs about saying, Dr. Jen, they decided against a COVID booster. Well, they did, but only for one specific category, one specific group. That was for people 16 and above to get a Pfizer COVID booster. These experts in the FDA advisory committee said, we reject the notion and the concept that 16 and above should get a booster. But that did not preclude them from saying okay to another category, which is then what they later voted on. And they came to the conclusion that for people 65 and above, or those who are at high risk of severe COVID illness, those are the people who should be able to get a COVID booster. Now, this COVID booster dose would be Pfizer. We are talking about the Pfizer COVID booster, so it's specific, okay? An emergency use authorization was voted on for Pfizer for a COVID booster for people 65 years old and older, or those at high risk of developing severe COVID. And this is for 6 months after the full vaccination series was received. So this was also another difference as well. And we know that we were hearing mumblings of, is it going to be 6 months? Is it going to be 8 months? What's the difference? Blah, blah, blah. And although in the beginning we were hearing 8 months after your series, you can get a booster, we are now hearing 6 months, but for this specific category. Once again, 65 and above, or those with high risk of developing severe COVID, Pfizer, emergency use authorization for the booster dose, and 6 months after the full vaccination series. So that is a big deal. And that is what the FDA advisory panel voted on. Now, we were waiting with bated breath. This is not surprising a lot of scientists. I think what is surprising a lot of people is the fact that the Biden administration basically was saying so many different things, right? They were talking about 8 months, that COVID boosters for everyone, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. And this recommendation is different. Some experts are saying that perhaps the administration put the cart before the horse and started counting their chickens before they hatched, meaning they started sort of advertising this idea of a booster for all before we knew it was reasonable. There's probably lots of theories behind it, but this is where we're at. And of course, we know that throughout this COVID pandemic, there's been a lot of this. A few steps forward, a few steps back, a few steps forward, a few steps back, right? By the way, I want to thank you guys for joining me again, those of you who are coming on. It's good to see all of you who are joining me on YouTube at this moment. Those of you on Facebook, thank you for the stars. Also on YouTube, thank you for the super chats and super stickers. By the way, for all of you who have gotten your COVID vaccine, and those of you also who've gotten your booster or will be getting a booster, please put in the comments your favorite emoji. I always love to hear and see who is getting vaccinated. Let's go through a few other tips, though, and points about this that we have to keep in mind, okay? So with this FDA advisory panel, you might say, okay, well, what's next? Can I go get a booster tomorrow? And actually, I was sort of texting with a lot of my coworkers and my department, because we have COVID vaccines, literally, that we are ready and chomping at the bit to give out. So doctors' offices, just like us, are waiting as well to see who can we give this COVID vaccine to? Who can get a booster? Who can I give it to? Just as much as patients are asking, well, can I get it? This FDA Advisory Committee then does exactly what its title implies. It advises the FDA, meaning that this recommendation to give an emergency use authorization to Pfizer for a COVID booster shot 6 months after somebody got their first series for 65 and older, high risk of getting a severe COVID, that's a recommendation. That's not set in stone. This FDA Advisory Committee is going to advise the FDA of this. They're going to tell the FDA, hey, we think you should do this, what we just said. The FDA does not have to take their recommendation, although usually they do. So the FDA is going to then have to say, we take the FDA Advisory Committee's recommendation. We accept that, or we don't, if they were to say that, but I suspect they will. Once the FDA, accepts that recommendation from the Advisory Committee, we're not done yet. We still have to go to the ACIP, which is a committee of the CDC. It's the CDC that has ultimate jurisdiction over whether we actually do this or not. The FDA can approve it. The CDC and the ACIP committee says actually whether it's going to be recommended to do it. Okay. And that's what we have to wait for. Actually, the CDC committee actually has meetings set for September 22nd and September 23rd. As you can tell, that's already past the September 20th deadline, or sort of benchmark that had been put in our minds a while ago, saying, hey, boosters will be available on the 20th. Well, the ACIP is not even meeting till the 22nd and the 23rd. And not only that, of course, we know that the recommendation is not for everyone. It is simply for, I shouldn't say simply, but it is for a small group of people. Okay. So then the ACIP or CDC committee will meet and determine whether they actually recommend and make the formal recommendation. And there are likely some other steps that have to go through the process as well. But see, all this stuff has to happen before then you can walk into a store, a Walmart or a Rite Aid or a CVS, or into my doctor's office or your own doctor's office and get that booster. And so this is important. If you all remember, this is the step that we have gone through. We've gone through this process with every step of the way. For every vaccine that we have gotten final approval for, we have gone through this FDA Advisory Committee, the FDA, the ACIP. We've gone through this. We are here again, and this is appropriate. You know, I think the good things is that we have a booster that is being recommended to be approved. And for all intents and purposes, it probably is mostly approved by the FDA, and we'll have to go to the CDC. That's the good thing. You know, what scientists are saying is that the data simply does not support giving boosters at this time to people who are young and healthy. And that's why, rather than approving these boosters for people 16 and above and catching everybody between 16, 26, 30, all these ages, 55, 43, 72, or rather 27, all the way up to 65 and above, they said, no, we really only think that people 65 and above and those people with underlying medical conditions, we really think those are the only people at this time who need boosters. So, guys, that's really what we're looking at. That is what's going on at this time. What I'd like to know is if you plan on getting a booster when your time comes. Are you going to get a booster? And remember, this is a Pfizer booster. Now we have to wait to see what the recommendation is. People are always asking if they can mix and match different COVID vaccine types. And right now we don't have the evidence that suggests that that's the case. But what will be the case when the ACIP or the CDC committee makes the recommendation? Will somebody with Moderna be able to get Pfizer? I don't know that I think that's the case, but we still have to wait for final recommendations is the point, okay? As always, I also say that with J&J, with J&J, don't worry. I know a lot of you often feel like, well, what about my vaccine? Why don't I ever hear anything about J&J? Please remember that J&J was one of the vaccines, it was the last vaccine to sort of come out that we have. And as a result, it's lagging behind in terms of data. We're going to get data about J&J, so don't worry about that. It will come. And please don't feel like you're a stepchild, because that's not the case. Okay. Someone has said that, and I know that many people feel that way. Don't feel that way at all. But so this is the thing, we're moving forward in this. I would also say that other people argue that, we've heard from the World Health Organization, and some people feel like, why are we even bothering with boosters when so many millions of people on this planet don't even have a first vaccine yet, right? That's an argument, that's a fair argument, and one that's worthy of discussion, right, to be made. So that's also another argument that has been out there and that has been had. But we are at the place that we are now. I said this on the Dr. Oz show last week when I did a segment with Dr. Ashish Jha and Dr. Peter Hotez. I said that whenever I was able to get a booster for myself, I would run out and get it as soon as possible. We'll see when I'm able to get one. But the point is, I do recommend boosters for whenever you are able and whenever it's recommended for your group to get them. So, guys, I hope this is helpful. We are moving forward. We just have to see. I would be interested to see as well if those who've gotten vaccinated the first series are as willing to get the booster. I'm wondering if there's any of you out there who've gotten the first series, Moderna or Pfizer, and are not willing to get the booster. But I also want to say and make a note to those who are not vaccinated yet. One of the biggest bangs for our buck where we are right now with the pandemic is to get you vaccinated. One of the most important things you can do is to get vaccinated. So I wanted to come in and just give that little primer. Emergency use authorization has been recommended for Pfizer COVID vaccine booster dose for people 65 years and above, or those who are at high risk for developing severe COVID. And it's been at least 6 months since the person's final full vaccination series to get a booster dose. We still have a little ways and a few committees to meet yet to make that final recommendation. So once again, guys, put in the comments whether you got your vaccine, if you're planning to get the COVID booster, if you've gotten a booster because you are immunocompromised, because remember, those boosters are already approved. Those boosters are already here, right, that you can get those. So, or rather, those third doses are already here. Yeah, so a lot of news, a lot of things happening. We'll wait to see how this evolves. Please get yourselves vaccinated. COVID is still very much running rampant. We've got Delta variant running around, and it's just out here. It just is. So I just wanted to come by, let you know the update for today. Let me know what you think in the comments. Tell me how you feel about all this. Yay, nay. No way. That kind of rhymes. Thank you, Facebook, for the stars as always. I do respond to you personally, as well as those of you on Facebook, YouTube, who send super chats and super stickers. By the way, I do have a group on Facebook called I Got the COVID Vaccine. That is in the description of this video, by the way. Check that out. Join the group. You can hear from other people who are getting the vaccine. You can hear from people who are getting the boosters as well. And also consider joining my groups on Facebook called Healthy Living with Dr. Jen, and also my subscription group called Dr. Jen Superstars. There's exclusive content for my superstars where we have offline conversations about things like this and other things. We do a private live every Wednesday, etc. So guys, I hope this is helpful. Please be safe. Please get your vaccines, get your boosters when it's time. Let me know what you think. God bless you. Love you.